Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tim. We are going to talk about Ash vs. Evil Dead, Season 3, Episode 4. It's called Unfinished Business, so full spoilers for the episode. So Ash's dad is still not quite leaving us alone, because last week we had Deadite Ash's dad, and this week we have Ghost Ash's dad. And, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but if we I don't think we've ever had just straight up ghosts, have we?
In the series, I don't think so, but I think we kind of did in Evil Dead 2. I think towards the end, like you see the professor's face comes,
Okay.
and it's real quick, but
Still though, big leap from that to he shows up and is like, "Oh, it's a wonderful life.
Sure.
I'm talking
Yeah.
to you. And I'm taking you to a flashback."
yeah, definitely, yeah.
I mean, I'm not really complaining. It's definitely a new thing for the series, and it doesn't necessarily like contradict anything. I don't think, at least not from memory. But it's like
Right, yeah.
when he just shows up towards the start, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a ghost. Oh, I'm all fine now." And he's like, "Oh, I've got a granddaughter. Well, that's insane. Oh, by the way, remember when I was dying? I was about to tell you something really important, which at the time I think we just took as a joke that he was about to tell him something really important. And get hit by the car." He's like, "Well, no, I actually do have something to tell you," and he takes him to a flashback where he killed. Well, he thought he killed a knight of Samaria who came by looking because you tell me where your son is. I need to find Ash. He's the chosen one. He's going to save the world, and he just kind of fobs him off, and he knees him in the nuts. He goes down the stairs into the cellar, and he looks dead. So Ash's dad, not thinking to do anything else, just boards up the door and leaves. Goes for a drink, basically.
Yeah.
And Ash, who, let's be honest, Ash's morality is not in the greenest of zones. It's definitely close to the murky area. But even he's like, "Oh, you just left him down here,
Yeah, I think as Kelly refers to him later in the episode, sure, he's like an old, drunken, racist pervert, but yeah, he's definitely not the guy that you would think would just leave someone to be dead.
Yes, it's just even worse when we find out the guy wasn't dead and he'd lived down here eating and feeding off of the emergency spam supply for however long until he just died because I don't know if he had water. That's probably what killed him.
Probably not.
Who knows? But he's got the lost pages of the book and he's been writing them all over the wall. And we get a kind of wacky scene where the tentacles come out of the wall and he sees this like vision of like in the center of all the drawings and like writing, there's like a little sort of crystal drawing, but it actually becomes like a window to the scene from the first episode of the season where Brandy's friend was like, well, before she died. Going back to Ash being a bit of a pervert, he says, "Oh, this little hottie looks familiar. Oh, that's Brandy's friend." Yeah, the high school student Ash, yes. I mean, I think I enjoyed this episode well enough, but it was mostly a setup episode, and it was also, I think, arguably the weakest of the season so far, largely because the biggest set piece was this tentacle scene, and the tentacles were like this, clearly CG, and it was just kind of him flying around a little bit. It was okay, but it wasn't as good as a lot of the other set pieces we've had in the last 3 episodes, I don't think.
Yeah, I would say I didn't hate the episode, but I was a little disappointed by it. First of all, it felt like kind of rushed. I feel like a lot of times we'll have kind of like a nice little cold opening. While as this, it felt like it was immediately like, 2 seconds after the last episode ended, it was like going, and it seemed like it was a while till we got the title sequence. And then, yeah, like you said, it's a lot of setup. There's no huge set pieces. I got really excited when, you find out like that his hardware store has like a cellar. So you're like, ooh, like Ash is going into the cellar. Like,
he even cracks some jokes. He's like, "Oh, I've got some experience with dead bodies in cellars, Dad." Yeah. So some jokes cracked.
So, and you think like, okay, cellar. There's a dead body there with pages from the Necronomicon. Like, there's no way there's not going to be like a crazy deadite down there. But it's like, oh, there wasn't there. Yeah, there was a few tentacle scenes which were cool, but yeah, especially after coming off like a lot of the last real big crazy stuff, it wasn't. Yeah.
And the funny thing is I think last week's episode, probably didn't have a great set piece to match up to the sperm donor scenes or whatever.
Sure.
But I think last week had some really flat, like hilarious scenes that were, that scene in the funeral home when he got out the coffin last week was like, okay, even if there's no like big wacky gore set piece this week, I mean there was some stuff, but even if there wasn't, that scene was kind of like that made the episode.
Yeah,
Everything else was
definitely.
gravy.
Yeah, and I'll
So,
say I wasn't like crazy about the Pablo stuff. Um,
mm,
like first of all, I don't think we did we see him turn into a Deadite last episode?
no, he jumped out. He drove the car into the
Yeah,
deadite other dude, Dalton.
right.
Uh, And then he just kind of vanished, and was like, okay, so where is he? And that's kind of the last we've seen of them last week. And then this week, he just kind of shows up as a deadite, attacking
Yeah,
Kelly and Brandy.
and like it seemed, and again, this is like kind of like what I was saying. Like it feels like weirdly rushed. Like there was no,
It feels like there's a
um,
scene missing somewhere
yeah,
early on. No,
yeah, exactly.
I can cover that. I'm kind of 50-50. I mean, Pablo being like a evil deadite, I'm not necessarily loving. What I did like though, I like kind of Kelly and Brandy kind of bonding a little bit, and
Definitely,
like
yeah.
that was probably my favorite part of the episode was them in the trailer and like try to figure things out and
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, and her I mean if we are gonna get any like cool practical stuff, her leg
oh
turned
yeah.
into Pablo's mouth, that was like a pretty cool scene. Like
Uh,
not much happens with it, but
yeah, that, but
um
that was cool, and I like the
now
callback to the "I'm your strong vagina"
yeah, yeah.
line. That was a nice callback to an old joke.
Now part of me is kind of wondering, okay, if we have Ash here who his hand gets infected by a deadite, so he chops it off. I'm kind of wondering, like, ooh, is Kelly gonna chop her leg off, and are we gonna get like some cool like chainsaw leg or something?
Oh God,
Uh,
that'd be. I hadn't even thought of that, Tim, but you might be onto something. Uh,
I'd be very interested to see if they go down that road. But
Interesting.
yeah.
So, actually, I tell a lie. My favorite part of the episode was probably the ending because I think the last 3 or 4 minutes were definitely where it kind of picked up, and this is what I mean by
Definitely.
the episode was mostly setting things up for other stuff. Because Ruby, like the drawings and the writing in the cellar sort of activates something from the lost pages, which activates something in the book, and it's oh no, there's been a rift open. The rest of the dark ones might show up and ruin my plans because obviously they're all pissed at her because she kind of betrayed them and said I'm the alpha
Yeah.
dark one and I'm going to do all the evil things. So she goes to Dalton. She kind of wakes up. I did kind of like the like he to avoid telling her anything. He commits suicide because she actually brings him back. She takes the deadite away, and so it's just him again. And he basically blows his own head off to so he doesn't say anything. That was
Yeah.
a fun moment for the most
Yeah.
part. But again, it was a lot of setup. It was like her, and she's talking to this person who's with the Dark Ones. And the person's like, "Oh, I'll be by your side if you bring me back." So, "Oh, I'm just looking for a host." And she keeps talking. Obviously, she keeps talking about how the offspring will kill the chosen one. I'm wondering if she's going to try and put her into Brandy's body so that
That's what I was.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's my main guess. But it's all set up. Obviously, I'm liking Brandy and Kelly been on their own and dealing with things on their own. But obviously, it feels like they'll still be separate from Ash for at least the first chunk of next week's episode. So we'll see where that goes. That may be a couple of episodes of them kind of doing their own thing
Yeah.
before it sort of ties back in again. But yeah, so and I think the other thing is as fun as some of the let's go into a flashback thing was like the fact that his dad just killed this guy or thought he'd killed this guy and left him there.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny in a really dark way.
I
But it
actually
did.
laughed at there's a couple of lines that he had that actually made me laugh pretty hard. I think he calls his like fists like he's like, oh, like this is Ike and Tina Turner and these are their greatest hits, and then he punches them, and then he mentions something, and then yeah, Ash's dad says, well, now you can like say it in high C, and then he like
Yeah.
kicks him in the balls.
Yeah, that's when he's
I
with
was
the
like,
balls. Oh, yeah. Which so there's some fun moments in there, but I do actually think that's why the episode mostly feels like it's just all set up. Is because most of it is this It's a Wonderful Life flashback
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Because it's actually kind of funny though, because I mean, because it cuts between that and the Kelly stuff, and it's kind of weird because it's like, well, that's a flashback, but we're still cutting between them as if they're running concurrently.
Yeah.
Which I guess in a way they kind of are, because you kind of see that no, they're actually at the store, sort of acting this out in real time, but you're seeing the flashback there, like a recording almost. I don't know.
It's a flashback happening in the present, I guess.
And again, none of this is particularly bad. It made for, I think all the episodes so far this season have been a nice mix of big moments, big set pieces, really funny stuff, interaction with a lot of the characters. Whereas Ash was separate from everyone else this episode for the most part. So
Yeah.
so we didn't get him. Pablo's a deadite, so we're not getting any Pablo. Really, not proper Pablo. And so so it's a lot of setup. That said, I do think the last few minutes were pretty good. So Ash basically figures out that Ruby's probably holding up at this, who used to be the real, counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes there, he gears up, he's got his axe, he's his chainsaw, and his shotgun, and all the rest of it. He comes in, he's like, "Oh, Ruby, are you here? Ah, well, lucky for her." And he starts wandering around. But of course, we know there's like a demon baby in the attic. So he ends up getting up there, and the Norwegian woman who was kidnapped is still chained to the thing. She's singing so the kid will stay asleep. And he's like, "Oh, this is the kid sucking a thumb. What's the big deal?" And it's that's not his thumb. It's like, "Oh, that's a choking hazard," right? So that was kind of amusing. But my favorite part of it was the fact that it kind of turned into a silent movie because they had to stay quiet. So they were kind of like miming things to each other, and there's like, "Okay, I'll put the glove on and I'll unscrew the sink and we'll take you out."
Yeah.
I do think it was a little bit clunky how they kind of just introduced earlier on in the same episode that his hand's malfunctioning when it's not been malfunctioning in forever.
Yeah. I was kind of curious if it is solely for this, to happen at the end here, or if it is something that is going to, pop up later in the season or something. Maybe he gets a new hand or whatnot, or if it's pretty much just set up for this episode.
Yeah, because what happens here is that he's basically earlier on in the episode you see him try to drink a can, and his hand just kind of like cramps in and crushes it, and he can't open his hand again for a while. And basically that happens here when he's unscrewing the sink, so he can't let go of the sink. But even the music during this scene, it kind of plays like a sort of like a creepy old silent movie, but in a sort of playful way. You can almost imagine like characters like tiptoeing with their hands like that as they try to sneak around as you hear the music. So it's really cool in that sense. And then of course Ash is like, "I've dealt with kids like this before," and then the kid opens his mouth, demonic with the teeth, and he's like, and I love that it cuts to black, and he just says, "Hey, Norway lady, what's Norway for up shit creek?" Music hits. The final scene was definitely the standout, and then I kind of like the Kelly and Brandy stuff. And there was some fun stuff in the Ash's dad like flashback journey. I just think that took too much of the episode's time up, and ultimately it felt more like set up this episode than actual payoff. Which I feel like for the most part, this show is usually quite good at making sure each episode has a bit of everything.
Something, yeah.
So.
And I think it's a testament to this season, which I feel like has been really strong. That this is again not a bad episode, but just like a little bit of a okay, like. It's fine, whatever. I still enjoy it, probably more than like 99% of other TV shows. So, don't want to sound like too complainy, but I definitely agree with you. It was a little weaker than normal, but still good.
Yeah, I can't agree with that last statement, Tim. I watch more TV than you do.
I mean, honestly, if I would love if someone could tell me there's a better show than this, but I sincerely doubt it. No, one thing I thought was kind of funny is, again, I always watch the little behind the scenes, like 2-minute thing they do at the end of every episode. And they mentioned using CGI on the kid at the end there. They were saying like, yeah, we wanted to use practical effects, but we soon realized that you can't like, put like practical makeup effects on a toddler, which I just thought that was kind of funny. Like, I wonder if they actually tried anything, or if they were just like, yeah, we can't, like, what are we doing? We can't do this to a kid.
I feel like they were going to, and then someone said, "Hey, by the way, there's a law. You're not allowed to do that. They have to be over the age of like 10 or something before you're allowed to start putting prosthetics all over their face." And it's like, shit. To be fair, I think the CG in the kid though actually looks pretty good. It works
Yeah.
because it's 'cause it's meant to be this really ridiculous open mouth, and I think it works quite well there. Whereas the tentacles just kind of felt because it's giving the kid this really cool presence, whereas the tentacles felt kind of random and just kind of like okay,
Yeah.
it almost felt like they did the episode right. They'd written it, and they said, oh shit, there's no big set piece moment that people will talk about. Oh, let's just randomly have some tentacles come out the wall and we can make that our set
That's-
piece.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's kind of like sucks about it too, is that it's like, okay, if this is like demony or something, like why is it like give up so quickly? Why is it not more of a fight or a thing? Like,
Yeah,
it seems like such a weird afterthought.
as soon as he gets the chainsaw and he just sort of like touches it and they all sort of turn to dust and that's it.
Yeah.
Done. It's just I genuinely think they wrote the episode and then went, oh shit, there's no big set piece in this episode. Oh well, that's just tentacles in that scene. Some wacky throwing them around. There you go. That's Evil Daddy.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a big deal. Like I say, it's okay for some shows to have like episodes where they're setting things up. Me and Connor often call them moving the pieces around the board episodes. Imagine a chessboard.
sense,
They're setting up for the next move.
Yeah.
So hey, but there you go. So that is this week's Ashby's Evil Dead. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Get us on Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can do that over there, but otherwise that is us. So thank you once again for watching. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?